All right, 12:03 on Edmonton Sports Talk on the first day of the regular season. It is finally here. It is the Oil Stream presented to you by Boston Pizza. Pick up your kids card right now. You pay $5 for the kids card, and your kid gets 5 free meals with the kids card. It is very, very good deal, and all the proceeds go to charity. Tommy Gazzola joins us this morning after being at the rink. He'll be on the GCL Diesel pregame show tonight, 7 o'clock right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Postgame show to follow as well. Mr. Gazzola, how are you doing, buddy?
Hi, Mr. Nielson. I'm doing well.
Very formal, buddy. It's game day. Yeah. You're Mr. Gazzola today.
How do you do, sir? Pleasure.
A wonderful game day to you, my man.
Yes. Great Tales of the North this morning, by the way. You and Rick were fired right out.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Fantastic.
Yeah, game day, right? Like, yeah.
I was excited for that, and it came through with flying colors like it always does. Super excited, obviously, to kick off a new year, and you could just tell around the rink, Dusty, and kind of even downtown, you could see, I don't know why the kids weren't in schools, but there were some kids walking around with their dads in Oilers jerseys. Maybe they were going for lunch as I was making my way back from the arena, and a lot of orange and blue gears. So you could tell like the season is upon us, and there is an energy. This rain won't dampen the parade today. It's going to be a lot of fun. So it's going to be a good night, I think. And, the banner, I saw it today. It'll be unveiled. It fits in nicely. It's good that they're adding those, but they want those white ones up there, not the orange ones and not the blue ones. So
that's tough.
Yeah.
You have to do that. Yeah, I saw that. Rafael Lavoie reclaimed. As Rip City Steps says, our long national nightmare is over. Rafael Lavoie is reclaimed. Tommy, do we know yet if he was claimed by anybody else, or can they send him down?
I believe you can send him down. That's what we were talking about at the rink today, because there's all that confusion. I know you were going back and forth a little bit with original Puzar.
Yeah.
OP's a CBA guy, by
I
the
know.
way.
Should hire him at Puckpedia.
They should. But yeah, it looks like he's back in the fold. And you know what, Chris Knobloch, with his answer yesterday when he was asked about Lavoie, he said something where like, oh, I think they're bringing him back, because he dropped. I don't think that story is complete in regard to Lavoie. So it's interesting. So he's the cupboards. It's like you always have to have crackers in the cupboards, right? And so you restock them with something, little snack there. And yes, Rafael Lavoie, after a day of horror, is back in orange and blue, which is honestly, it's a good thing. And he did have a really good camp. And Oilers fans that are Lavoie believers, Joel especially, can breathe a sigh of relief today.
I have to say, kudos to Oilers management, man. This is a guy that had 28 goals in the American League last year, and you just picked him up off waivers for nothing?
Hey!
Brilliant move.
All right.
Brilliant move. They've restocked the cupboard today by getting Rafael Lavoie to replace Rafael Lavoie, who they lost just a few hours ago. So brilliant turnaround. Brilliant turnaround. You gotta be happy with that. If you are listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, you can text us 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Brelando's in and says, guys, how about a shout out to Surveyor Brett and Brelando? We're about to rip up your road again. Oh man, like the road outside the office again? That was just ripped up. We couldn't come up like 111th there at all. Come on, you guys.
So I think Surveyor Brett and Brelando are talking about right in front of my place and Owonix, because they were there last year doing some. I don't know. Oh,
your guys' road
lines.
Okay.
Yeah, we have it. So there's still some like overhead power lines in back alleys downtown. And listen, this happens in a lot of cities, but I feel like they were burying some. And I saw the guys this morning. They were pumped up. They were sitting in their truck. I'm sure there was a full Tim's coffee sitting in there as well. And I guarantee you they're probably at BP's Ice District enjoying it and watching and listening to this show. But good to see the boys. I love it. Like right when I walked out the door, they're like, Tommy G! Like, oh, there's the Epcor boys. Hello, Brelando. Hello, Surveyor Brett. Good to see them, and a nice way to start the day. I will add that.
Let's wrap that job up. Let's wrap that job up and move along. Let's do that. All right, so let's see here. Gus over in the Nasty Chat. If you're watching on YouTube, hammer the thumbs up for us. That would be great. It's game day. Oilers and Jets tonight. Hammer the thumbs up for us. This one from Gus says, so 31 other teams passed on Rafael Lavoie. Does that mean we can stop the he is an NHL player talk? Clearly, he is not. Tommy, your thoughts on what Gus just said? I mean,
it should be kind of a sign to people where his value is around the National Hockey League. And all 32 teams at this point of the season, going into the first full game, they have guys like Rafael Lavoie. And sometimes those players can turn, their situation, which is kind of a borderline NHL player, into becoming full-timers. Look at the Carter Verhaeghe signing yesterday. There was a guy that ended up in the ECHL for a little while and bounced around a few different organizations, and then boom, he gets an 8-year contract after they get their Stanley Cup rings, and then absolutely paced the Boston Bruins after raising their Stanley Cup banner. So some of those guys can elevate. They get it to the right situation. Somebody has faith in them and believes that they can be household names in the National Hockey League, and they take it and run with it when it gets to the point where they have an opportunity. Some guys don't. Unfortunately, most of them don't, and it's not their fault most of the time. Lavoie's a guy that the Oilers probably out of all 32 teams would know best about.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And he's on the cusp. Like he's a borderline guy, and DVD talked about it. Even Knobloch yesterday kind of he said it in a nice way, right? He just said there wasn't room for Rafael Lavoie on the team right now, given the circumstance of where this group is at right now. So, it is a bit of a tell, but like that's not to poo-poo the player. He's still contributing and he's still providing a lot of offense at the AHL level, and that's a good sign.
I have to think that if a winger goes down due to injury, he's first call-up, right? If it's a center, it would be Philp for sure. If a winger goes down, I guess you could call Philp up first and have him play the middle, move Derek Ryan around a little bit or something along those lines. But at worst case scenario, Rafael Lavoie would be their number 2 call-up behind Philp. I mean, who else would, Gazzola after his camp maybe? I think it would have to, like at some point you got to let this guy play if there are injuries. So like you got to see what you have here.
Yeah, and the circumstance that they put him into last year wasn't good at all. That was terrible. And I don't think nobody was playing well at that point. So he's got to be one of the first ones. I think, Philp, they'll probably let play for a while, but I think Philp's going to be right up there as well. And then Gazzola kind of put himself back in the mix, but I would think that Lavoie and Philp are ahead of Gazzola. And I'd even maybe put Matt Savoie in there as well. Ahead of Gazzola.
Yeah, Matt Savoie. I guess I totally forgot about him. Those would be the 3.
They've got options.
Those would be the 3.
They've got options. And a lot of right shot options, too. Except for Gazzola.
So maybe they are one of the deepest organizations in the league. Who knows?
No, that's definitely not that's a false statement. I'll say that.
All right, 780-218-9999. Kenneth, this is an amazing message. I get it 100%. I don't know how everybody else will, but Kenneth says, guys, why are we so focused on these fringe players? Don't let this distract you from the fact that Hector is running 3 spoon engines with NOS, which is an excellent first Fast and the Furious movie reference. Brilliant. But I mean, it's hockey in Edmonton. People are obsessed with everybody. It's as simple as that. Like,
hey, the third line in Bakersfield has huge ramifications on the second line in the NHL with the Oilers, as we all know.
And it always will.
Yeah.
It always will.
That is a silly statement, but it's just, this is oil country, and everything is under the microscope.
I'm missing a call right now. I'm definitely not going to pick it up, but it's from Lexington, United States. Would you think that's a real call or a fake call?
Robocall. I got one. You know what? You know what's the tell? It's from an obscure city, or it's from like the same 3 numbers of your phone number.
Oh, that's weird. I've never seen that one.
I had one of those today.
Really?
And they never leave a message. So
that seems sketchy.
Important.
I always wonder if, like, when I miss a call, I'm like, are they offering me a job? Is there something happening? Is it a job? Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. Call Kentucky football.
No, instead we all just have to sit here and continue to flounder with EST. It's tough, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Tommy, the vibe down at the rink today. Let's dive into that a little bit. It's a team that is coming off. Well, I mean, it's the most heartbreaking loss you can ever have as a hockey player. Losing Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, there cannot be a more heartbreaking loss. That's it. It's a winner take all for the Stanley Cup. How does this team bounce back? What's the vibe like? Is it loose early in the year? Are they all business because they are the Stanley Cup favorite? How did it feel down there today for you?
I'll contrast it to last year. Last year was loose. Last year they had a good vibe. Last year they really, really were casual about it, and it bit them in the ass. I remember asking Evander Kane after they went 0-2 against the Vancouver Canucks, and I said, how's the group handling this? He goes, oh, the sky's falling, and it's going to be horrible, and this and that, and he was being completely facetious. And what ended up happening was they went 2-9-1. Got their coach fired and the assistant coach. That's true. And they had to absolutely reel it in. And so the vibe is not like that. I think that is so top of mind for them, what happened last year, that they don't want to allow it to happen again. Do they seem rambunctious and gung-ho and overly eager to get going? No. I think there is optimism. There's like, hey, all right, here we go. But it's back to work. And you described it best. That was the most heart-wrenching way to lose the Stanley Cup. You go to the pits of 0-3, and then you revive the thing to 3-3. You got all the momentum, play a great Game 6, and then you lose in a tight game where the Panthers put you into a chokehold in Game 7. You lose by 1. So I would describe them probably as ornery, but in a pleasant way.
Okay. Pleasant ornery.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They're cordial, but they want to kill you.
So killy, but cordial. Cordial killers.
Cordially killy, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's an option too. If you have any questions, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Let's dive in to your spicy headlines for Popeyes. And I mean, there's a couple things here. I don't think anything's, well, first of all, Popeyes, if you know you tried the blackened chicken sandwich, I think it's the best thing on the menu, and I absolutely love the regular chicken sandwich. And then, of course, they've got the wings, bone in, bone out. Everything is absolutely delicious at Popeyes. Popeyes is a huge partner of the Edmonton Oilers as well, so you'll see a ton of Popeye stuff kicking around. I'm sure Furby will be at the game tonight as well. Tommy, 2 places I want to go here. Let's start in-house with the Oilers. Travis Dermott looks like we'll be playing next to Kulak. Stetcher, the odd man out for this evening. Your thoughts on Dermott? I think based on, if you're just basing this on training camp, I'm okay with Dermott getting the first look ahead of Stetcher, but I will, as I was when they acquired him last year, I still want to see like a decent run from Stetcher at some point to see what you have.
Yeah. Stetcher, I have like some faith in, and I think he's a decent defenseman, and obviously we didn't really get enough of a sample size to comprehend how he fits in with this team, which is too bad. Is he the ideal guy that Oilers fans probably look at like, damn, we've got Troy? No, but I think he's a defenseman that does bring something to the table. He'll compete, he'll battle, he'll use whatever he can of his size and ability to make sure he's not getting hemmed in his own zone, and he has a little bit of offense. So I'll give him a little bit of credit there, but I think Dermott is just maybe the more steady player, Dusty.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And has, I mean, both of them have kind of a similar body of work. They bounced around. They've always kind of been like Stetcher had a couple of years where he was one of the Canucks' top 4 D-men. Remember, he had some power play time. I don't think it was particularly great seasons in Vancouver during that time, but both of them are kind of, fringe second pairing, third pairing guys, and you don't really make too much out of them. So I think with Dermott, maybe just more familiarity from the coach, and then just steadier, a little bit bigger body guy. We'll see how he handles playing on his off wing, but yeah, he gets it today. But the other thing that's worth pointing out is Chris Knobloch said that both of them will probably, as of right now, go 50-50 in terms of games played.
Which makes sense.
They can get an
right?
update. Yeah.
I think that makes sense. I mean, you might as well go 50-50 in terms of games played. Let's see how Emberson does alongside Darnell Nurse. If both of those guys are taking advantage of their 50-50 sort of situation.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what? Let's, Dermott's played really well with Kulak every second game or whatever when he's got in. Let's give him a look with Darnell Nurse if that's the case. So I think the approach there totally makes sense. 780-218-9999 is where you can chime in. Robin Mungle Fitness says, guys, I don't know anything about Dermott. Is he the hopeful answer or a stopgap until they find a better D with the cap near the trade? Look, he's
stopgap.
Yeah, I didn't want to disrespect the player because he's a National Hockey League defenseman and he has been for a long time, but I would think all 3 of those guys are stopgaps until they acquire a top 4 guy prior to the deadline. Mm-hmm. And maybe you live in a world where Emerson actually ends up playing really well, and then you go out and you acquire third pair right shot guy that could also moonlight up in the second pair. If come playoff times, it's a little bit of a different pace for Emerson or something. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I just Stetcher, Dermott, Emberson will not be their right side going into the playoffs, I don't think. So let's see how it goes. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's good enough to get you through the regular season and get you home ice in the first round of the playoffs. Maybe it's not. We won't know until we actually get to see these guys in regular season games.
That was a logical response to the question. And, ideally that is how it goes, that these guys that are there right now that we know Dermott's, signed on a 2-way deal for the rest of the year, ideally they get this team through to the trade deadline where Jeff Jackson and Stan Bowman can go and find an upgrade. If things go sideways and neither Dermott or Stetcher can, provide a calming influence in that third pairing, and if Ty Emberson has struggles and continues to struggle, 20 games in, let's say, then you're reeling, and then you're trying to make a trade from a position of weakness. So that's why I think the focus, and we talked about it on Monday, is 5-man unit working together, playing sound defensively in their own zone. Good breakouts. Get that first save, sometimes a second save from Stu Skinner and Cal Pickard. And that is what can cover defensive deficiencies when it comes to talent and ability. Is if you got the buy-in from the forwards, and then the D-men are capable enough of getting the puck up and breaking up cycles. And, that's going to be a lot of heavy lifting from the big 3. And that's Ekholm, Bouchard, and Nurse. I don't know what kind of Darnell Nurse we're going to get. He didn't show us anything particularly positive in the preseason, but there's a couple of unknown. I have to give Kulak credit too, because he is very steady and he is very reliable. So
Kulak's been here for how long now? How many times on a post-game show have you gone on and been like, man, we got to do something about Kulak? You never have to worry about it.
He struggled at the start of last year. He had a bad 4 or 5 games out of the gate, and then he was back to being normal, reliable Kulak, unlike most of the rest of the team.
All right, so I saw somebody asking about the lines. Here's what you're going to get tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. Connor McDavid between Hyman and Nuge. Skinner back up with Draisaitl and Arvidsson. Henrique, Connor Brown, and Matthias Janmark. Derek Ryan, Corey Perry, and Podkolzin. And then Ekholm, Bouchard, Nurse, Emberson, Kulak, and Travis Dermott. So as we continue here with your spicy headlines for Popeyes on the Oil Stream, presented to you by Boston Pizza. This came up on the Lock Shop today. We were talking about it with Huss, and he said, the Oilers did bring in some pretty good players. Tommy, correct me if I'm wrong. This is what I have for the ins for the Oilers this year and the outs for the Oilers from the team last year that went to the Stanley Cup final to what we're looking at now. Okay. So out, Holloway, Fogle, and this is off the NHL roster right now as it starts. Right. Holloway, Fogle, McLeod, Ceci, Broberg, Desharnais.
Yes.
In Skinner, Arvidsson, Podkolzin, Emberson, and Dermott. I mean, I think the outs are a hell of a lot better than what they brought in. It's not even close.
You lose stability on defense, right? You lose speed. I think speed is going to be something we keep an eye on to see how the Oilers move, because, as frustrating as it was for some people to watch Ryan McLeod skate 1,000,000 miles an hour and not hit anybody, he was fast and he could transport the puck and he could gain the zone, and they use that to their advantage. He could also cycle. Warren Fogle, career year, got himself a nice contract. I liked Warren Fogle. I thought he was a good depth piece. And that's a guy where you're like, well, they could use him, but he kind of priced himself out. And there were other priorities that they were looking at clearly as they loaded up the top 6 and top 9 for that matter, keeping Henrique. I think ultimately, and that's why, Dusty, we talked about it, this team today, probably not as good as the team last year on paper. Right?
Yeah,
Obviously at the end.
I like at the end for sure not. Like
defensively, not as good, and the defense was suspect going into the year last year on paper.
So be interesting.
Goaltending is better now. We know that.
Skinner, and then Pickard's an upgrade on where you're at this time last year from a backer.
Calvin Pickard outplayed Jack Campbell. Both, like what Pickard did last year was better than what Campbell did the last 2 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, with that being said, the goaltending that we saw in the playoffs is the same goaltending as now. Yeah, like if we're looking at the teams, I mean, the goaltending's the same. There's no change there. So, but it'll be interesting to see. I'm very fascinated to see how this team comes together, because there's some coming together here that'll need to be done.
I like those players that they lost. I like Desharnais. He had value. He's a good penalty killer. Did they need an upgrade? Yeah, but you could have had him on the team last year. He wanted his money and he got it, and good for him. He earned it. I liked Warren Fogle. I liked Ryan McLeod. Were there holes in their game? Yep. I feel like we're going to find out about holes in the games of the guys who have come in, and we'll be talking about them a lot this year, and that's just the nature of it. If those guys were still Broberg and Holloway, a lot to like. The Broberg goal last night, by the way, was a terrible goal on Grubauer. Good for Broberg, though, and set up by Holloway, or he had the secondary assist, which is, a little salt in the wound, but those are losses. Like I like those guys. I think they're going to be good NHL players for a while, but yeah, those guys, the caveat being a lot of them were scratches in the playoffs and in the Stanley Cup final. I don't know how far that goes with Oilers fans, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, some of the guys that are playing on the fourth line were scratches in the Stanley Cup final too, though. Yep. So, I mean, like they're just, it's going to be interesting to see how this team looks post-trade deadline. That's really all that matters. I mean, we're going to look at the roster, and there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be wins and losses. But it really doesn't matter until what you see, first of all, health-wise. How do they look down the stretch health-wise? Mm-hmm. And B, who they've been able to add. C, we have to remember that at some point you would hope, if everything goes according to plan, a healthy Evander Kane slides back into the lineup as well, right? Which could be a big boost, right? Very big boost, especially if he's healthy. Goes. Yeah.
I don't think he's waiving his no move. That's the other thing. I know we're looking way down the line here, but when he gets healthy, I don't think he's doing that. So we'll see how that all plays out. And when he's dialed in, he's excellent.
If you're watching over on YouTube today, hammer the thumbs up for us. That would be great. Halfway to 100. Sub to the channel if you haven't already. Trying to make our push up to 11,000 subs. And, of course, you can text us anytime. 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999. This one is in from Eden. Those are your spicy headlines. We'll get back. We're going to take a look at the Jets tonight, the opposition. We'll get into that a little bit here on the Oil Stream. Brought to you by Boston Pizza. Get your Kids Club cards right now at Boston Pizza. You pay $5, it goes to a charity. You get a Kids Club card, they get 5 meals. Simple as that. You can get them online as well. You're just missing out on free kids meals if you don't get that, and all the money goes to charity. So it's a great plan. A great project that they do every single year at Boston Pizza. It's awesome. Eden is in and says, "Hey boys, in my mind, Podkolzin is meant to be a replacement for Fogle with the skating and physicality. I expect Philp will be called up because of his speed down the middle. Second right-hand D has been an issue for a lot of years now. Anyway, so yeah, I mean,
CC was all right. You know, we have to give him credit.
CC was better than I expected him to be last year, honestly.
Yeah. He played 2 years ago, hurt the majority of the season. He did not have a good year 2 years ago. Last year, he was steady. Was he the perfect number 4 D-man? No. But, you know, you look at you said it, I think, on the morning show. It's like you look at the 3 guys that are their options on the right side behind Bouchard, and you go, well, kind of appreciate CC all of a sudden. And I think that's a fair sentiment.
780-218-99 is where you can chime in. Of course, over in the Nasty Chat as well. Rod Z with a great trend for the game tonight. The Jets have lost 7 of their last 8 road openers. Something to keep in mind. As for the Winnipeg Jets tonight, Tommy, what type of skate did they do today?
Full pull. Oilers were highly optional.
Oh, boy.
The Jets were a full skate. And
how many Oilers on the optional? How many on the optional?
Jeff Skinner, Stu Skinner, Calvin Pickard, Stetcher was out there, and I think Emberson as well, and Connor Brown. There was like
very, very, very optional.
Guys.
Yeah. And the Winnipeg Jets were full go on the road.
Full go.
Here. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And what'd you say, Hellebuck? Hellebuck's
Yeah.
good to go. Yeah, he'd been dealing with some personal stuff earlier in the week.
Exactly.
So, all right, here's what we're looking at for the opposition tonight: the Winnipeg Jets, and the guys will continue to discuss this as we work our way through the day. Here is the first ever regular season game day. We can say you don't have to go anywhere. We've got you covered. It'll be EST afternoons. Hey, Nanso, Sarah Orleski? Yes. Beautiful. She's the best. Sarah Orleski coming up at 1:20 today on EST afternoon. So make sure you stick around for that. Her and Anna Gager will be getting you locked and loaded for the game as well. And then the Reed Wilkins show from 3 until 6 today. And the pregame show with Tommy Gazzola, GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame at 7 o'clock tonight. The Winnipeg Jets, Mark Scheifele between Velarde and Kyle Connor. Nemesnikov, a very versatile player. I like him. He'll be with Nick Ehlers and Cole Perfetti. Interesting to see if Perfetti can kind of take off. Adam Lowry with Appleton and Niederreiter. It's been a real good third line for them for a few years now. And then Rasmus Kupari with Iafallo and Morgan Barron. Morrissey, DeMello, Sandberg and Pionk, Fleury and Miller. They're a little bit banged up on the blue line. But, Tommy, what's the vibe down at the rink about what the Jets are bringing to the table tonight and this year?
Talking to Mitch Clinton, who'll be joining us. I think we're going to push him back. Hernan and I were talking, push him back to later in the show, but he'll be hopping on. Jets color commentator on the radio side. It's like business, like for them too, Dusty, because like they know they're a good team, and they were tied for 4th with the Panthers last year after the regular season, but they get bounced by the Colorado Avalanche in 5 games, and they had that was a crazy series with so much in terms of scoring and like the goalies. The story was the goalies weren't that great. Hellebuck got lit up in that series. So this is a Jets team, I think, that wants to atone for last year. They have a nice lineup. They have a little sprinkle of some young guys. They got the Perfetti contract settled. The defense is a veteran defense, and it looks all right. I know they're going to miss Ville Heinola, who had an infection after having ankle surgery, like the bone, Dusty, that he had fixed. The screw that went in there infected the ankle. So that's a nasty one. But this is a good team. I was a little bit surprised when Wyshynski said that he had them on the outside looking.
Yeah, me too today, actually. Yeah.
And I understand his rationale because the Central Division, that's going to be a tight division.
It is.
But I think Winnipeg has the high-end talent, the veteran savvy, a nice sprinkle of high-end youth, great goaltending and steady defense to put together a hell of a season again. I think they could be a 105 to 108 point team. They were 110 last year. It'll come down to those interdivisional games. And it's, do they beat Dallas and Colorado that extra game or two here and there? Do they make sure that they beat Utah? Do they, dump all over the Blackhawks? I would assume they will, but they're going to be right in the mix at the top, I think, again. I was surprised, big time surprised by Wyshynski. If any team that might take a step back, and I like the Wannick's rationale in the West, was Vancouver. But I liked what I saw from the Canucks, and we know the preseason isn't everything. But I think Winnipeg's going to be a good team. We're going to have a good game tonight.
You know what's wild is looking at the top of the Central Division right now and seeing Utah Hockey Club at the top of the standings. Like I'm not used to it yet. Just seeing Utah Hockey Club. Did I watch? I watched part of the game. Did you soak in any of the atmosphere?
Yes.
I kind of just popped in and checked out some of the highlights, and I watched part of the game for a little bit. But what'd you think of the vibe in Utah, buddy?
That's awesome.
First game ever. It should be awesome, right? Like
it was awesome. They had the ESPN panel. Mark Messier, PK Subban, Steve Levy were there, and I really enjoyed it. And you know what? The bar was set so low by the Arizona Coyotes, or it had fallen to such a low level that even though there's 11,000 in that building, because it's a basketball specific building as of right now, it looked like it was a really nice vibe. And they're going to be a team that's going to be plucky, and they're going to fight for their points, and it's not going to be an easy out every night like the Coyotes ended up being. And it's a big league team again, not like the Coyotes. The Coyotes had fallen into such disrepair that, players openly mocked Mullet Arena. And it wasn't particularly great when it was in Glendale. Like it was pretty bleak. And now all of a sudden there's hope. You've got an owner who loves hockey. He's got the bucks to spend. He's going to do it. I guess they're going to pump like $600 million into retrofitting that rink, kind of like what Seattle did with its beautiful new arena. So I like it. I think that this brings the NHL to a true 32 franchises, not 31 and a half like it had for the last few years.
Bronco Nick says, Dusty, when are you going to do 2 games in one day for TSN like Ferraro did yesterday? Oh, you know what? I could do that, but I wouldn't get the private jet like Ray Ferraro got to go from one game to the other. I could see a scenario, and this is just because, let's just be honest, you try to save on costs as much as you can. I could see a situation where if there's like a 1:00 game here in Edmonton and an 8:00 game down in Calgary, they'd be like, hey, Dusty, what do you think? Do both. Finish the game up here in Edmonton at 3:30 and then just drive down to Calgary and be there for an 8:00 kickoff. I'd do that. I could definitely do that. That'd be a lot of fun, man. I'd like to try that, actually. Yeah.
You have the type of demeanor that you'd be up for a challenge. You'd find it fun. There are some in our industry and our peers that'll be like, you could barely get me to do one game. But, it's crazy, too. Like, awesome because Ray's one of the best, if not the best.
Oh, yeah, he's the best.
The discrepancy in the budget between, like, our company that we still technically work for, you more so than me, and then our new one, obviously us being a startup, but like ESPN having, and just the money that goes into broadcast and all of that down there compared to up here.
Well, it's the American, you're right. But it's not even like company. It's just the way they view American broadcast. It's the way the Americans broadcast sports. I mean, the payrolls for their talent are insane. Like it's compared to even like our best guys up here. It's not even remotely close. It blows my mind. It doesn't even like frustrate me up here. It just blows me away down there. I'm just like, man, like some of the deals that some of those guys are getting, I can't imagine. I can't imagine that.
Not even the national guys, say our peers in, let's use Denver or something like that do exactly what we're doing. Big bucks, man. And so you get to the ESPN level and you got 3 games in one day. So you want Ray on both broadcasts, morning and night, you get a PJ.
Yeah.
No big deal.
So cool.
Awesome.
Well, Rob says, Dusty, you drive to Calgary, make them fly you there. Well, like I'd say this about flying. First of all, I guess, if it was a funny bit and they had like a plane scheduled for me, like right on time, and I could
get you a Cessna.
Well, whatever. Yeah. But I don't mind like regularly driving down to Calgary. It's almost just as quick. Like by the time I get to the airport, now security's easy. I have the Nexus card now. So, but you wait. If your flight's delayed, you're kind of screwed. Like from my house on the West End to, let's just say, the Calgary airport, because I fly out of Calgary sometimes when I'm going other places just because of scheduling here and stuff. I'll whip out, like tomorrow I'm driving down to Calgary. I do the Calgary trip in like 2.5 hours. Absolutely. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Like I've done it quicker sometimes. So it's like, it's not that bad. I don't mind driving, unless the weather factors in. I don't mind driving to Calgary, man. Quick rip up the road, listen to a few shows. Like basically, let's say I left here at 1:00 and tomorrow I'll probably be close to it. I'll leave here at 1:00. I'll listen to EST afternoons, and like 30 minutes in the Reed Wilkins show, I'm in Calgary already.
Yep.
Easy peasy.
It's a very comfortable drive most of the time.
Yeah. People are flying, so you kind of have to keep up or you're causing issues. But it's a straight shot. Like it's not a difficult drive. So, if they wanted to fly me to go down and do a Elks game here and a Stampeders game down there, I'll take it. But absolutely, I'm okay doing the drive.
Hey, you walk right on that private jet and you walk right off. It's very, very comfortable.
I'm extremely low maintenance. So it'll be, there's no issues there. All right, Tommy. This is a good question. I think I know what the most popular answer would be, but who is the X factor on the Oilers this season between them winning a Stanley Cup and not winning a Stanley Cup?
Great question.
Send your answers, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, or, of course, over on YouTube, where I see some of you locked and loaded, probably ready to go here. Smash the thumbs up over there as Tommy gets ready to answer. The true X factor of this team this year, who is it?
Matthias Janmark. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I think Victor Arvidsson could be that guy.
Okay.
I would lean towards Evander Kane. I don't know what he's going to be like coming back, but again, impact player if he's dialed in and healthy. But, we know McDavid and Draisaitl, when they get to the playoffs, are going to lead the charge, obviously. You're going to need good goaltending from Stu Skinner. Bouchard's pretty reliable, especially in the playoffs, same with Ekholm. But, who's a guy that could put you over the top? It might be a Victor Arvidsson. He's a competitor. He plays playoff-style hockey. And I think he's the type of guy that might be able to score a clutch goal or two in a conference final, in a Stanley Cup final. Even though I jokingly said Matthias Janmark, who scored the goal in Game 7 for the Oilers?
Matthias Janmark on a breakaway.
Very nice goal.
It was a nice goal. Should have got another one.
I know.
All right, so Arvidsson. Okay. All right, lots of answers to this. Darnell Nurse, Stuart Skinner, guys, it has to be Nurse. Nurse is the X factor. Skinner, Matt Savoy, Pickard, Broberg, Stan Bowman at the deadline. Ooh, I love people who think forward. That's real nice.
Broberg one kind of.
Yeah, at the deadline.
Okay.
Stan Bowman at the deadline. That's a good one. Dash says, guys, if Stuart Skinner gets hurt, the Oilers are screwed. I would agree with that. And this is not a shot at Pickard, but if Stuart Skinner gets hurt, the Oilers are in big time trouble. I would say my answer will be Darnell Nurse. If Darnell Nurse is not a steady Eddie this year, I'm not even talking about my God, I can't believe what we're seeing from Darnell Nurse. This guy's incredible. That's not what it has to be. If Darnell Nurse can be a steady Eddie this year, I think they can win the Stanley Cup. If we're sitting here going, and the Oilers got to trade for a defenseman to stabilize Nurse, then you're in no man's land right there. That's tough. And there's even, you said it earlier, we thought CC was fine last year. there's even more pressure, I think, on Nurse with essentially a rookie playing right to him, playing on his right side. Like if Nurse struggles, I don't think it's reasonable to think, well, Emberson will pick him up. I mean, great if he can. That'd be phenomenal. It's like found money. But
that's a big if.
I think it has to be Darnell Nurse, man, because it's not even like you go, okay, well, the Nurse pair is struggling. I guess you could bump Kulak and Dermott up, but that's also not really technically a second pair on this team. We're in a spot here where we have to just view everything they do as Stanley Cup contenders. Yep. And that's just not at that caliber. So yep. I'll have to say Darnell Nurse, because if Darnell Nurse struggles, the Oilers are in trouble on the back end. Yep. If he's fine, I mean, they'll be a really good team. Really good team.
And that's a great point. And you know what? I'm 100% with you on the Nurse pick. And I guess when I picked Arvidsson, I just assumed Darnell Nurse would bounce back and have a much stronger season overall. Because Dusty, he's a guy that, I feel like he just needs to settle into being the number 3 and recognizing, regardless of his contract, how much money he's making, for how long, just you're behind Bouchard and you're behind Ekholm. Just go up and play your game, because when you simplify and play your game, you're a good player. And we're talking about Darnell Nurse. We've seen it. When he's doing too much, he gets scrambly, gets in his own head, gets over rambunctious like he did against Vancouver on Friday last week. They get into trouble. He gets into trouble, and it puts the team in bad spots. But if he can just simplify and go out there and play and do what he's being asked to by Mark Stewart and Paul Coffey, then they're fine. But you're right. Which Darnell Nurse shows up this year?
Your questions or comments on any of this, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Max Bazuzu says, guys, why couldn't Nurse be more than Steady Eddie? He finished 7th in Norris voting a few years ago. I think the reason there is that, Ekholm and Bouchard are going to log a lot of your key situations. Yeah. So he could very much impress from his spot. I hope he does. I hope for his sake he does. I hope for the fans and the team he does as well. It would be great to just see a ton of praise for Darnell Nurse throughout the season. Man, I hope that happens for the guy.
Can I bounce this off you?
Of course you can. I'm right here.
You're right here, man. You're always there for me. Do you think that when Ekholm came in, that may have gotten to Darnell's head, where all of a sudden you've got this guy more established than you, more reliable, and he's thrust into that 1D spot where that was supposed to be you, and you just signed, and now all of a sudden you're on the second pair. Do you think that may have gotten to Darnell a little bit and affected him? Because this is something that has come up a few times amongst us while we sit and watch them practice at the rink.
If you look at it from an angle of, is he doing too much to try to prove that he's still the big fish? For a few years there, he was their number 1 defenseman. Yeah. Now you look at it, and he's paid now like a number 1 defenseman, but he's technically kind of their number 3 defenseman. Absolutely. So, I could get do I sit there and go, Nurse holds a grudge and it's affected his game? No. But could it be, well, Nurse wants to prove that, hey, I can do this too. I can do this. And maybe that's because we do say he's usually at his best when he's just keeping it simple, right? Playing physical, but making smart plays defensively, not doing the skate up the ice and swooping behind the net with the puck and not know what to do with it like he did early in his career. I always said that with him. I was like, as soon as he stops doing that type of stuff, he's going to be really good. And then he did kind of zone in there for a little bit, and now that's what's the consensus when you guys bring it up, when you talk about it down in the rink? What do people say? Maybe from a trying to do too much, perspective.
It's a conversation that pops up from time to time, and it usually spurs on some great takes. And I have pointed out, and I look at the way Darnell has kind of shifted in his demeanor when he, speaks to the media and how he is around the room. He was so good, the best to get anything off. I would talk to him about the damn Hamilton Tiger Cats, Dusty.
Well, who doesn't want to talk about the
S&T.
Tiger Cats in an NHL room? Yeah.
Now it's like, what's up, big boy? He's hey, how you doing? Good. How's your show, Tom? Good. That's it. Like nothing. He's grumpy. And I think, what's gone on the ice, maybe where he sits on this blue line, like guys, he thinks, he's thoughtful. And I feel like maybe it has gotten to him. So when that gets brought up by others, when we're sitting there watching practice, I think it does have a little bit of merit. And hopefully, because he is an older guy in the NHL now, he's been around the league for a while. I hope that he has the ability, and I think he does, to his credit, knowing him for so long, to look past that and just settle in now and recognize what he needs to provide and get that task at hand on his mind and accomplishment, regardless of the other stuff, the money and the status, what deep pairing he's in. I think he's capable of that. I'm optimistic that he can do it. Let's see if it happens.
Is he, what's the health situation like? I know he got a few games in, but
yeah.
Okay. But is it going to be something where if he struggles for a couple weeks, or we are going to be sitting here going, oh, he's banged up, you got to take that into consideration? Or is it like, don't worry about that?
Knobloch was asked about that. Yes. I think Shoggy asked him about it. And, my read off of what Knobloch says, no, he's good. He's fine. Like he can play full pull. He was very physical throughout training camp. And then they just finally got him into those last 2 games where I think he was just trying to play catch up, and it caught up to him.
Mark down in Lethbridge texts in and says, guys, X factor is Nurse. If the Oil can pair a steady, hard to play against Nurse that we've seen flashes of with a solid shutdown right-handed D at the deadline, they have 45 minutes of real hard to play against pairings, with Bouchard and Ekholm pushing the pace one way, and then obviously Ekholm being extremely solid defensively. If you can find that guy to put alongside Nurse, or if Emberson can really excel this year and stick next to him, it'd be pretty good.
I have a question for you, Dusty, and then people watching and listening can also chime in, inbox or nasty chat. How much patience do you think there will be from A, the fan base, and then B, the coaching staff for Ty Emberson to get into a groove?
Well, I was gonna start that. Well, first of all, when we ask about fan base, we're asking you who are watching or listening right now. So you're the answer that really matters when it comes to the fan base thing. So let us know your thoughts. I'll try to reference it from how I think a coaching staff would approach it. Let's view it this way: who's gonna have more patience for Emberson there, the coach or the fans? That's a fun way to do it. I think coach. But I also look at a coach who is putting this guy in the spot. He's played 30 NHL games with a really bad team. You've got 2 veteran guys in Dermott and Stetcher who have, done significantly more in their National Hockey League career. So,
absolutely.
How patient do you want to be with a guy who's still like just beyond, rookie mode, when you do have guys who've played hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games in the National Hockey League? Would it maybe be wiser to get to those guys a little bit quicker than you usually would? I think that answer probably comes down to how they start. Like if Emberson's playing okay, but the team starts 7-3, then you just let that ride out. But if he's playing just average and they're 4-6, then maybe you pull the trigger on something like that a little bit more. What do you think, buddy?
I like that answer to it. And then the other thing, Knobloch said this, and he's talking about the forwards, but I think it could apply to the defense too. We watch the set lines and deep pairings go in every game, and they run them through the morning skate and all that. But he's like, there's going to be movement up and down the lineup in game,
all the
to
time.
Game. And so, Emberson could be that second pairing right side guy for 40 minutes. And then they need to clamp it down in a tough game against a divisional rival like Vegas, let's say, in Vegas. I could see them putting Brett Kulak paired up with Darnell Nurse. And then maybe sprinkle in an Emberson or a Dermott or a Stetcher, whoever happens to be in the lineup, just to give the other 4D men a break. And that would be offensive zone starts. That would be making sure that, they're up against third and fourth lines. I could see them trying to insulate those guys in tough situations. So I think the fan base will be tougher on Emberson if things don't go well, because that's just the natural inclination. I think the coaching staff will do everything in its power to put him in a position to succeed and to find his game consistently at the NHL level. And that might mean hiding him in third periods if they're in tight games, and maybe sliding him down to the third pairing here and there. And that's why I cautioned during the rankings of importance going into the year, don't put him too high just yet. Let him find himself. And that's kind of where the coaching staff gets paid and earns its big bucks, is making sure it enables its players to become the best version of themselves every season. And I think that's how.
Well, he's definitely going to have an opportunity to prove himself, and you hope for a guy who's really getting his first legitimate start the season chance in the National Hockey League, that he can make the most of it. You can hit us up over in the Nasty Chat. Tommy, what's the plan for the GCL Diesel pregame show tonight? When do we get rolling?
We get rolling at 7 o'clock. We're bringing it to an hour pregame show this year, and so it'll move quick. Great to have GCL Diesel on board. We've got a couple more sponsors. Damon Bunting's back. Fantastic. You're going to hear from Matty Cassian. He's our game analyst again this year. We've got a surprise analyst for a couple of games in mid-October where Cass, Joaquin, and Belzy aren't available. I think you're going to like him. And then Hernan, the Latino Heat, he's already a little picante, and he's ready to go. So, and we did 2 pre-games and 1 post-game, and I like how it's going. It feels like getting on a bike, and working with Hernan is an absolute pleasure, and so super excited about that. And then on post-game, Dusty, we're going to mix in. Wilkie will be at the games, and he's going to work the locker room and do the interviews with the coach after as well. And then we're going to get Wilkie to pop on from time to time. We're going to see Wilkie on tonight. So it's a great program that we have, and it only continues to get better and better. And it adds to our wall-to-wall coverage, the most local live sports talk in the city. Your clear choice.
Is that what everybody calls him, Wilkie?
He calls himself Wilkie, so I'm going. I call him Riedrich.
Yeah, I like Riedrich. I think we need a real good EST name for him. We got Glue Guy, we got Zacticum, we got YouTube Trev, we got Ice Cube, Lieutenant Eric. Yeah. I think there's got to be. We got to come up with something. We got to come up with something for him. Something good. Riedrich's not bad. I like that one.
I've called him Riedrich forever, but he calls himself Wilkie. So we'll have Riedrich, Wilkie.
Reed Wilkins will be on tonight. That's what we're saying. Yeah. Okay,
and you're going to see him mixed into the post game show for hits from the rink. So lots coming your way, and it's going to be awesome.
All right, well, that's coming down the pipe. EST Afternoons is going to be live here at 1 o'clock. Hernan Salas and Joaquin Gage, Sarah Orleski at 1:20 to talk Winnipeg Jets. So if you're watching over on YouTube, turn on the autoplay. That'll take you right on over as we continue to give you full day coverage here now on Edmonton Sports Talk, continuing to push out the Oilers and the Jets tonight. The Reed Wilkins Show from 3 to 6 this afternoon, and the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show with Tom Gazzola. Tommy, that is my favorite jacket of yours, I think. I think you're wearing my favorite jacket. I like that jacket a lot.
Hey, shout out to Richie and Jared over at Modern. This is my nicest suit. Those guys are great. Dusty, you got to go see them. I already, said that you could.
Do you think they could take like a Cool Bet t-shirt and turn it into a suit?
Yep.
That would be kind of cool.
This is a Hello Hockey logo on the liner.
There it is. Yeah.
And they can do anything. Those guys are so good. City of Edmonton Tower, Southwest Corner. If you're looking to, update your wardrobe, they don't just do suits and stuff, but thank you. Yeah. I love this suit. Fits like a glove. And we're so happy to have them back on board with Hello Hockey. And they've done the modern power play. So they're critiquing, giving you ideas, stuff that we see from the players walking outfits. Yeah. And that's become more of a thing. And then I was talking to Jared yesterday. He's got a really good one for this week. Henrik Lundqvist was on Jimmy Fallon. Or Jimmy Kimmel.
Was.
No, Jimmy Fallon.
He was on Fallon.
Yeah, and he was looking good. So Jared's like, I got something in store for that one.
Oh, that'll be fun then. That'll be real good. All right, buddy. We'll have a good pregame show tonight. I'll see you at the rink a little bit later. Looking forward to seeing the Oilers and the Jets drop the puck tonight on the regular season. That is going to do it for the Oil Stream, brought to you by our great partners over at Boston Pizza. Remember to get that kids card. $5 for the kids card. It goes to charity. Your kid gets 5 kids meals with that kids card. Great deal. Only with our partners over at Boston Pizza. EST afternoons on the way in about 3 minutes.